Yo, I Respectfully Disagree podcast, late night edition. This episode is sponsored by Gamblers Anonymous. Okay, fresh off a late night trip to the casino. Been having a good week. Won a couple $100, few hundreds, couple hundreds. Felt good. So this is what, the third trip in 48 hours. Put the mic in front of your face, please.
I can't see.
Scoot the arm down. Scoot the arm down and tilt the mic up.
But like
twist the arm. Now pull the mic up.
Like this.
Yeah.
But like this whole thing is in front of your face, so as I'm looking at you, I can't see.
You don't know what I look like?
But still, I'm looking at you while you're talking.
You're supposed to be looking into the camera. We are official. We are celebrating 10 years of marriage. 10 years of marriage. So tonight's episode is just some alone time. Talk about it, reflect on us. Good, bad, indifferent. We ain't got to spill all the beans or whatever, but for those that are listening or watching, some of the trials and tribulations that we've had, they may be able to learn from it, learn from our mistakes, things of that nature. Gambling, like I said, third trip to the casino in a matter of 48 hours, hit a little good luck streak. So
all out of fun, not because we're addicted. It was literally just random.
Hell, we might
fun.
be addicted because sports betting is official in Kentucky now. I've been going hard. Trying to get this money. Happy wife, happy life is what they say. So I'm doing it for us.
Luckily, you are a very smart man, and you know when to do that and when not to do that. So you're all good. I trust you. So no problem.
I hope so. Till you start hearing me sneak out the house in the middle of the night, and I'll be like, "Look, I'll be right back. Got this hot 20.
No.
Got this hot 20."
You just said we're celebrating 10. We want to get to 10 more. So
absolutely. So real quick, for those that are tuned in thus far, do us a favor, hit that like, share, subscribe button, tell a friend to tell a friend. We definitely appreciate it. The road to 500. I haven't checked in a couple of days, but I think I need like 40.
Close.
I think I need like 40. Almost there. I've met the requirements of 3,000 hours of watch time. So all of that, all the boxes are checked except 500 subscribers. Go make a fake email and I don't care. Subscribe. But anyways, oh no, I lied. Real quick. Weather is changing. I posted this on my TikTok the other day. It says all I need is one mic. And at the bottom, of course, I got the IRD logo. But this picture is from the very first episode that we done. Like I said, when the podcast started out, there was no visuals, there was no YouTube, there was no nothing, just straight audio. And at the time, you know, thanks to my wonderful wife, she bought me a USB mic, as you can see on the shirt. And I did that episode with my guy C, me and Daryl, and all three of us sat at this round table and we put the mic in the middle and everybody tried to speak into this one mic. So I thought that this would be a great idea just to symbolize the growth, where it all started. Sometimes I do need a reminder. I get kind of down in the dumps when I'm sitting here feeling like I'm begging and pleading for people to subscribe to the channel and things like that. And I'm real particular about that. Like, I get it. You got to promote. It don't matter if one person shares it, don't matter if nobody shares it. You just got to stay consistent and keep promoting and promoting. And sometimes I do, let that bother me. It gets to me at times and I feel like I'm begging. So coming up with, new ideas for shirts and things like that, I was just like, why not take it back to where it all started? And I needed that as a reminder to just be like, hey, bro, you started with one mic. Now you got multiple mics. You got a camera. You got all these different things. The YouTube is jumping. So
Be proud.
right. So definitely appreciate it. Appreciate the love and support. I'm gonna be making a promo video in the next few days or so with the hoodies that's gonna be available. That's gonna be pre-order. Like I said, trial and error. People ask for things, they don't pay for them, and then I'm stuck with it. So we'll save that for another day. But anyways, man, y'all peep the hoodie. Let me know your thoughts, and let's dive right on into it, man. 10 years of dealing with me.
Ooh.
How do you feel?
How do I feel dealing with you?
How do you
It depends
feel?
on the day.
It depends on the day. Oh, okay.
How do I feel about 10 years?
Let's talk about 10 years. 10 years ago, we made the decision to pack up and leave from Lexington, Kentucky. You, myself, and Aubrey. Aubrey was what? Going on 2? Well, she had already turned 2.
No, she.
It was in like July. We moved here in July.
So she had just turned 2.
Yeah. So.
Or no, she just turned 1. She was born in 2012.
Okay.
So she just turned 1. She turned 2 right before the twins were born.
Okay. You're right. Birthday was at Chuck E. Cheese. Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't there.
So
I was in the hospital. I was not there.
So yeah, so Aubrey had just turned 1. And that in its own self was like, I don't want to necessarily say a hurdle, but it was one of those, we're going out on a leap of faith in a sense. And what I mean by that is like, we knew that you had landed a position or a possible position with Cochran Elementary. That was like, you had no concerns in terms of finding work. You kind of had that lined out. We knew we were getting married that upcoming October. So the biggest concern or the biggest questions was, what am I going to do? And it's like, you make the decision to leave Lexington to move to Louisville, and you really don't have a plan in place. All you know is, I'm coming here for a fresh start. We got a 1-year-old. I don't even have a job lined up yet, on top of the fact that I'm getting ready to get married. So it's like, that was the beginning of our journey, whether we realize it or not. It's easier said than done. It's like, oh, I moved here, blah, 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 blah. But it's like, when you go back and really think about that, like, we really moved on uncharted territories.
But I would even go back like further. So for those who don't know, we met in college. So you and I have literally been around each other for like 17 years.
Too damn long.
Since 2006. About 6.
It was December.
We talked about this, but I met you in 2006. in like October. I remember
Like, you was stalking me in 2006.
somebody was being stalked, but it wasn't you.
Yeah, all right.
So we have been literally around each other for a very long time.
Yeah.
And even prior to getting married, had our, living together, figuring out life and all these things. But I feel like the ultimate decision, and it goes back to who you are and those strengths that I guess we'll talk about in a little bit. But you are not someone who's just gonna go on and just do something. Like you're a
Very
planner.
calculated.
Yes. But I remember you saying when we were in Lexington, I'd have more opportunities for employment to do this in Louisville. The opportunities. There were more
Yeah.
opportunities here. So you were already looking ahead. You were already saying that, and we did have our daughter. You were already thinking about how you were going to be that father and soon husband in our family, knowing that not that you were limited in Lexington, but
Lexington is smaller than what people think.
Yes.
That's one of those in my opinion, I didn't mean to cut you off. Like Lexington revolves around the University of Kentucky. Mm-hmm. So when school is in, the city is thriving. Businesses is booming, places are packed. You know what I'm saying? Like the University of Kentucky is literally the backbone of Lexington. The summertime things slow down. Everything's just kind of dull. In terms of careers, it's like if you don't already have a foot in the door, in a sense, it's like, my first job was answering phone calls for Sprint, working at ACS. And anybody that knows me, like, I'm not a people person per se. Like, I can get along with anybody as long as you don't disrespect me. That position was like, clock in, be prepared to be shitted on until you clock out. And that's one thing that it's like, I get it. You have to be able to provide and be there not only for yourself. I didn't even have a family or nothing at the time. So it was like, this is a new start, fresh out of college. You got to be able to provide. But it's like, I'm one of them people where I'm not going to do anything just because it's a paycheck. Right. Like, I watch my parents.
Your peace
is way it's worth way more than anybody could pay me. A peace of mind. Mm-hmm. And that's one of those things where I worked there maybe over a year, maybe. I don't even know if it was a year.
I was had I already started teaching when you were there? I was still student teaching, so maybe, yeah. Maybe you just made it a year, or
I don't even know. But long story short,
apartment, did you work there?
Yeah.
And then you worked there when we moved to the townhouse. That's when we moved together. So you was there at least a year.
And it came to a point to where life lesson, I quit. And that was the first full-time job I had ever had in my life. Everything was summer jobs, in between semesters at college and things like that. So, when school got ready to start back, here, I'm putting in my 2 weeks. I'm going back to school, blah, blah, blah. So this is my first official full-time job and had no idea how unemployment and things worked. So I'm thinking I'm going to quit this job, draw some unemployment until something else comes up. So that was the first roadblock that I ever hit in life. Quit the job, found out that if you quit a job, you are no longer eligible for unemployment. So like you said, going back to Lexington, I feel like that kind of snowballed everything. Had no idea that, we were going to be bringing a child into the world. So that was part of the decision to leave and move to Louisville as well, because I'm saying to myself,
You had already started when we found out I was pregnant, right?
what?
When we found out I was pregnant, you had already started the other job though, right?
I was at Macy's.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I said we was nickel and dominant. You know what I'm saying? In the trenches. For real. Like prior to even the thought of marriage. That's why I tell people, it's like when you're dating someone, you should be able to tell if this is somebody you can see yourself with in the future. And I feel like a lot of relationships these days are based on what people can buy them or provide them, or women are seeking men that are wealthy. Men are seeking women that's got all these bodily features and things like that. And it's like you're basing it on everything other than what is going to be needed in order to make it last. And we've been talking this week, we're seeing all these celebrities and things like that going through divorce and stuff like that, Dame Lillard and things like that. And it's like you keep asking yourself, what are these marriages built on? What are they based on? And they were actually college sweethearts. Mm-hmm. And it's like, what is the foundation? So going back to what I'm saying, it's like you should automatically know, or you should get a sense of, this is somebody that's been with me through thick and thin. Hopefully when I turn things around and start building myself up and getting myself together, if this significant other has withstood all of the trials and tribulations, then the reward for that person is for you to finish the back end of this journey. You was with me when I was struggling, going through hardship. Now that I've made it, here's your reward.
But I think it's like we've grown together, like going through, those decisions, going through problem solving, going through what are we going to do about this? And I feel like it has allowed us to get to this, this big point of 10 years, is that we did go through that before and we stuck together. We don't get it wrong, we've had our days. And I will say that something that I've learned about myself is just kind of acknowledging that you are better in different areas than I am. And that say takes a while to get there, but just kind of knowing each other's strengths and weaknesses. Like you are, like I tell people this all the time, it's like, finances, like he's he has that. Like I know you talking about, you've gone to the casino a couple times, but
that hot 20.
But I know that you are mindful and thinking, like I said, thinking ahead and thinking about, what is it going to do, or if, like it's all been for fun this week or whatever. But us getting to the point where I'm trying to do it myself, trying to do this, trying to do that. Well, you know what? Like he's strong in this. Like he knows exactly what this is and, what our home looks like and etc. Like I had to accept that there's no point of us having this tug where that's his strength. Like I had to get to a point and still growing from it, like to this day, still growing.
To this day. To this day. Go ahead.
That still growing in those aspects, but just kind of highlighting between, two people that are in this partnership, this marriage, those strengths and weaknesses, but also accepting that that is your strength and not mine, and that I might have a strength in another area over you, but not making it a problem, like not making it an issue. Yeah. So I feel like also going back to our time in Lexington and just making it through, some tougher days, and we were fresh out of college, trying to be adults and make all these life changes. And, now we get to a point where, people come in like, we've seen our families like, we're so proud of y'all. Like y'all have really done this. I will say that talking about other couples and stuff, that we focused more on the long term marriage opposed to just like a wedding. You
Right.
know, like our wedding, we had a nice wedding. We had a lot of people at our wedding. Um, I'm not a big, materialistic this kind of person, so it wasn't like over the top. Don't get me wrong; it was beautiful. I love the location. Everything was
It
perfect.
wasn't over the top. You a damn lie. Excuse my language.
I
Disagree.
look, I see the receipts.
No.
I know.
Damn
I
right.
look at the receipts.
I'm
I've
still
looked at
trying to
the
figure out how that
receipts, and I'd be like,
happened.
"Woo, we had a great support system." Like
Don't
that.
you disrespect my marriage. It wasn't over the top.
I'm saying,
Girl, I'm from Clinton. Girl, we could have got married under the trestle.
Oh,
Shout out
Lord.
to my folks in
I-
Clinton who know what that is.
I am saying that it wasn't to the point to where
Amber and
focus-
Anthony on the Country
the
Wayne's
focus
kids.
of our new union was this big extravagant wedding. It was the after the fact.
So if we would have
And
had
now
a
we
courthouse
making-
wedding, you'd have been cool with it.
I would have been fine.
I disagree.
But we ain't gonna let that happen either, because we can do a celebration. Our daughter talking about us getting married again in our backyard.
Look, Aubrey got to chill with that. But hold on, because we're getting ahead of ourselves. Like, I want to go back because I'm not gonna make it long. But you was talking about, you're in reference to me, I'm good with finances and things like that. Like, I want to go back to that to talk about how difficult it was mentally transitioning from Louisville to Lexington with no plan.
Right.
When I just told you that I am very strategic, like I'm very calculated. I'm an overthinker.
Right.
Like, I want this to go as smooth as possible. So I'm trying to calculate every step of the way, and I'm going to follow this path that I've created in my mind
That is supposed to work
to get to where I'm trying to go.
But-
So hold on real quick. Hold on. So I'm saying that it's a gift and a curse for those that are listening. Like, you can overthink every situation and bring more harm than good. But for me, growing up, it was one of those things where it's like my mother didn't make a lot of money. So she had to plan every dollar. Like, every dollar was already accounted for before it ever even hit her hands. So when it comes down to light bill, gas bill, this and that, I watched her write out things and she had to plan it. And it's like, I know how much my check is going to be. So here's what I have to do. Pinch from here to pay this. Pinch from somewhere else to make up for where I just pinched to pay something else. So you're constantly juggling numbers, trying to make things work. So that's why I'm saying I adopted that from her, because she had no choice but to be calculated.
Right.
Because one slip up can cause everything to collapse.
Right.
And that's always the fear that I've always had. It's like, you had no idea where the next payment was going to come from for a bill unless something happened. So I feel like a lot of people that are, I laughed and joked when I opened up the podcast talking about gambling, going to the casino, but it's like a lot of families are dependent on the lottery, things of that nature. I watch my mother play lottery every single day, hoping that just a little, even if she won $50 off of pick 3, that $50 is going to go towards groceries. That $50 might go towards the cable bill. And it may be a month or so where you have to call and set up payment arrangements to get things going. And you don't even know. Long as you can make that first payment, you don't know where the next one going to come from, but you got to go make shit work. So that's why I wanted to focus on that part of it, because I'm saying that me agreeing to leave Lexington, moving to Louisville without a plan, also knowing that we're getting married in less than 2 months. We had no idea how that wedding was going to get paid off. We had no idea where we was going to live at. We had no idea how we was going to care for Aubrey. And these are important things that I feel like the world should know and understand, because I don't care what social media shows. A lot of people think that I post on social media a lot and I share everything that happens in my life, and that's far from the truth. It's like I struggle just like everybody else. I go through hardships. We go through hardships. Just because I post shoes or I have a shoe fetish or love for this and that doesn't mean that we're wealthy. It doesn't mean that we have an abundance of money to just throw away and splurge. We went through a lot of hardship prior to moving here, as well as when we originally moved here. So that's the part that I want to talk about. It's like, even after we said I do, I was just starting at Humana. I'm in my probationary period. You just heard me say I hate talking on the phone. I quit a job because I hated talking on the phones, but my entry position at Humana was talking on the phones. So here you are again. You're in a situation where you just moved to a new city. You're just getting married. You're newlyweds. You got a 1-year-old. You know, our inner circle knew, and I'm gonna give you the floor in a minute. Our inner circle knew, but when we moved here, we couldn't afford to find a place. We moved in with your mother, my mother-in-law. I'm saying to myself, that's not the ultimate goal for newlyweds. So I had to make that sacrifice of working on the phones as much as I hated, like tears in my eyes coming home.
Everyday conversation.
But now you come across that situation where in relationships, if you really care about people, you really care about family, you make that sacrifice.
So I think it goes back to what I was talking about, just kind of accepting strengths and weaknesses. I think it took accepting, like you accepting that right now, as much as I want to have our own, I want to do this and that, I have to accept that this is where I have to start and accept that I have this support, because not everyone has that one. Um, that we do have a support system, that it wasn't a hesitation. They were like, just do this so you can do your plan and do your things, get things in place, which ended up, after finding out about the twins, end up being a blessing for us, something that we needed. But I think that was that test of faith that I will say is something that has guided our marriage too. It's just that um accept that this is just part of our journey, is and accepting that we, as much as we may not have wanted to move in with my mom, as much as we, wanted our daughter to have her own this and own that, and us to start as what you would think, uh, a married couple would start as, that wasn't our journey. Like,
Right.
but I think it took you to accept that help. And I think sometimes that's hard. Like, just accepting that I can't
Swallowing your
go.
pride.
Yes, I can't go by the plan I have. I'm starting at a different starting point.
Yeah.
So I can lead there the way that I want to. And in the end, that's what ended up helping us. Is that if we would have just done it our way, I had to say, tell God your plan and he gonna tell you his, kind of thing. Like, if we would have just tried to done it, we would have been probably in a worse situation.
Exactly. But you know what? I'm glad you said that. I'm not gonna harp on it. I'm not gonna, disclose too much or whatever. But going back to strengths and weaknesses, when we first decided to move here, we were set on, we're gonna find a
Right?
place.
I was looking.
Even if it's rent to own and this and
Right.
that. And we went and looked at some places, and it's like it didn't even have any appliances.
Know where it's going.
And I'm saying to myself, I'm like, this ain't nothing that we can take on right now, because the wedding ain't even paid for yet. We ain't even got the catering part. We ain't even done none of that. So how are we going to take on a house, and we're going to have to provide our own appliances and things of that nature? And I kept saying, it's like, it will come. No matter how hard it, like, a lot of relationships and things, it's like people put so much pressure on themselves. I gotta have it all
right now. And I think that's what I was saying. It's like you wanted it right now. We wanted it right now because what you're referring to is that was me. Like I want this place right now. I want this right now. We'll figure out how to get the washer and the dryer and the refrigerator. They didn't have anything there, but
I disagree.
what are you disagreeing?
Don't say we.
I just said me.
No, we're
I
gonna
just
play this
said
back. You said we.
No,
I knew
just said-
better.
and I just said in terms of this situation, I know that was me
All
saying
right,
that
maybe you
I
did say
wanted
that. Okay.
the place and I wanted
apologize.
that, but okay, you want it, but not right now. A coworker of mine in her room, in her office, she has this thing that says the power of yet, Y-E-T, power of yet.
I like that.
And it says the power of yet, and it was like I may not be able to do this yet. It's got a lot of other little posters around it. But the thing about it is that that's what it's reiterating is that yeah, you may not be able to do that yet, but give it time. Keep working on it. Keep progressing on it. But every time I go in her room, I look at it. She's a speech therapist, and I may not be able to say this sound yet about like our son, and as much as the growth that he has, but the power of yet, and that's kind of where we had to accept that point that okay, we may not be there yet, but the one that even the place we were in before this, it kind of just fell in our hands, and
we're gonna get there. Like I said, we ain't gonna tell all of our background
but
or whatever.
We've
been
10
on here
years of growth
for 30 minutes, but I'm just saying, like, I feel like sharing the major parts of the trials and tribulations and how we got to where we're at may help other people understand that it's like it's not going to all happen in one day. And I'm saying that I knew better because, again, I know what it's like to struggle. I know what it's like to penny pinch. I know what it's like to just nickel and dime, check to check. And that's something that I've told myself I don't want to do. Like, don't get me wrong. Today's economy is garbage. Everybody's struggling. Like, even, households with 2 incomes, like, you're still trying to figure out ways to make ends meet, but that's not healthy. Like, you have to have some form of structure because all it takes is one catastrophic event and everything that you've worked for is gone. And that is a fear. That's what drives me. That's what motivates me. So I'm saying that, like, during that time, it's a lot of things that we wanted. It's a lot of things that we dreamt of. And the White House with the picket fence, we got a 1-year-old, like, we're getting married. Like, you had this vision of storybook marriage, but cool.
Do you think that's why we see so many marriages now maybe not make it to the 10 years or make it because they think of this storybook fantasy marriage and not really accepting that that's not how it is?
This is just simply my opinion. I feel like marriages and relationships no longer last because A, social media, B, you got all this reality TV and stuff now, and you're right. People see what other people have and they assume that that's how their relationships should be.
People are afraid of the work.
We sit down and watch these shows. What'd you try to get me to watch the other night? Love is Blind or something. The Bachelor, Bachelorette.
It was The Love is Blind.
But I'm just saying all of these different type of shows, and it's like
that show all the good parts.
These are all shows that's sponsored by somebody. So quite naturally, all the dates and things are already created. It's already set up. These people don't have to fund an actual date. So you got the candles, you got the walk on the beach, holding hands and this and that. But guess what? You got all these bright lights and camera crews walking behind you. Guess who paid for all of that?
All right.
So hold on real quick. I see you ready to say something, but it's like to put all of that pressure on another person to think that they have to create this Cinderella fairy tale wedding, date night, things of that nature.
Our
And
wedding
it's,
was pretty Cinderella. Now we talk about it though.
but I'm just saying, it's like people have this vision,
Right.
and if you can't live up to that vision, oh, he's broke, he don't deserve me, oh, he can't provide, he's an ain't shit ass dude, or if you ain't willing to go work for this, then you don't deserve me. And it's like, why can't we build this together? Like, that has always been my thought process. I'm not going to break my back trying to provide for an ungrateful person. I've seen too many of my peers, I've seen too many family members work 2 and 3 jobs only to come home and that love and appreciation is not felt. So what are you doing it for?
I think that goes back to knowing your spouse, your partner, because what I was going to say before, let's go back. I don't know where I heard it. It was this week. I heard it. They were like, it was on the TV or something. The danger zone is what they called it of a marriage is the 1 to 2 year and then the 5 to 8 year. They was like, those are the danger zones, whether you'll, if you continue to make it or,
Then let's jump ahead.
what that would look like. That those danger zones of the 1 to 2 years is what it said, and it said 5 to 8. I don't know where that research come from, but I heard that this week. It was talking about those two, and I was sitting there thinking about it because again, it was this week that I read it, or I heard it somewhere, I can't remember, and reflecting on our first 10 years of marriage, I'm like, okay, how was that 1 to 2 years? And that was definitely that was definitely a tough time, but it was that we were building together. Not to mention, I will forever say this to you and to anybody about you, that when I was pregnant with the twins and in the hospital, that there was so much appreciation for you, and at times I was like dang God, like you really looked out for me with with this one, because you were going to work downtown, coming to see me at the hospital, and then going home taking care of our daughter, or you would go to get her so she can come up to see me, then going back, washing clothes for me to bring back, and
no sleep.
Like, you were just going. Now,
Bruh.
Zero
which one
sleep.
is the clapping one? Can we do
Yellow.
that one instead? There we go. Can we give you a clap? Now, again, that was with a lot of support of, my family, and mom, that, I'll forever be grateful for her and my sister and them that helped too. But just thinking about, like, dang, like, he is going to work, so again, you're going to work, because I couldn't work at the time. We had just moved here. So that was a whole situation too.
We ain't gotta go into details.
I'm not,
like I said,
but I'm saying just like you
give
going,
give the
you
main
doing that, and that was within our first year, 2 years of marriage, us going through that together and not letting it break us. That was a lot. So,
Fam, no. Listen to me. I just did an episode with Kevin talking about the reaction to becoming a father and things of that nature. But it's like,
I wanted to push the button a couple times.
Whatever. I'm saying to you, like, real talk, like, we went from saying I do on October the 5th to, hey, we're pregnant by October the 25th.
Oh, your birthday.
So in 20 days, I went from starting a new job, getting married, to finding out I have another child on the way. And it's like,
to finding out in the emergency room that it was 2 of them.
It's twins.
I was like, wait, what?
To finding out that, okay, you have to have an emergency procedure. You are going to be in the hospital for 4 months. Permanent bed rest, can't get up to walk without putting the babies at risk.
Right.
I'm in a brand new job. We have a 1-year-old that's living with our mother-in-law. And like you said, it's like, I'm at a job that I can't stand.
Right. So, I thought about just like the peace that you always talk about, your mental health, like going through all that. On top of, I'm sure, all those concerns about being a father, being a husband. On top of, like you said, the job that did not have the best feelings towards. On top of finances, on top of all of these things within that time of that first 2 years, like I said, that danger zone that they call of a marriage. Like, you don't think of, being newlyweds the first year, it being like that. It's supposed to be all
The honeymoon
honeymoon
phase and this
phase.
and that.
We
Like
didn't
we didn't
even we
even
didn't even get a honeymoon
nah.
because I ended
Right
up
back to work.
yeah.
I got approved for 2 days off. Yeah. But like I said, we'll be on here all night. I ain't gonna speed you up or nothing like that. Like I said, however long it takes is however long it takes. But I'm saying, like, without giving all the details and all the background, we can share the trials and tribulations, but focus on the actual marriage part. And I'm saying that again, it requires sacrifice across the board, even from you. Like,
Right.
to know that you had to lay in a hospital bed for 4 months. Like, it's all unknown territory. Like, we have no idea what's going to happen next. And it's like, I've shared this story on the podcast before. It's like, okay, I got a Chevy Impala.
Right.
This ain't going to work. So we haven't even got to the house part yet.
Right.
We're still living with our mother-in-law with a 1-year-old, 2 now, and we're getting ready to bring 2 more babies into her house. Like, that in its own self was just such an uncomfortable feeling for me as a man.
Right.
Like, I had to do a whole lot of soul searching because I'm saying to myself, like, bro, what are you doing? You done uprooted, left Lexington, moved to Louisville. You think you're doing it for all the right reasons. And then it's like, boom,
Go over the
you
hurdle.
just feel like you're just adding more onto this plate of unknown. And as a person that overthinks, as a person that's very calculated, I have no idea. Like, anxiety out the ass because, again, you don't know how it's all going to happen. And that's why my advice to anybody that's married, anybody that's in a long-term relationship is like, you have to understand things are not going to come when you want it. You have to understand that when it's time for you to have certain things, then it will be available to you. Nobody's saying don't work for nothing. You still have to work for it. But stressing, trying to worry about how am I going to pay for this? How am I going to pay for that? As long as you know you're doing right by people and you're not trying to manipulate and con and this and that, and you have that village, you have that support system, then things are going to work. So it's like, boom, we get a new car. We get an SUV. I got the Impala, we got the SUV. So now it's like, okay,
Things are going. Things are looking up. And it wasn't a hard. It was an easy process. It just kind of, things worked, and we got what we needed when we needed it. I mean, it was literally right after we had the twins,
yeah,
and it came right on time.
exactly.
Like if we would have rushed and done it before, we might have had 2 cars, but one might have still been too small. We might not have been able to all get in there. But things happen, and the car that we wanted and the one that we needed was there.
Yeah. So then you fast forward and boom, we finally are able to get out of your mother's house.
And even with that, remember our brother called like, "Hey, they just put this sign out here." And when I called the guy and we went to look, they were like, "Dang, we just put it out there like a couple hours ago." And it was just
Yeah.
boom.
Everything just happened how it was
Click.
supposed to happen.
Yeah.
But I will say this, and I'm going to put this in there because even through all of it, you still had that sense of, well, I'm speaking for myself now. You still had that sense of like, damn, like I'm still behind. Not saying that I'm comparing myself to my peers, but at that time, we're watching our peers get their first homes. We're watching people check off milestones and things like that. And it became a situation where people start asking, when y'all gonna get a house? When y'all gonna get this and get that? And my response was always like, hey, it'll come when it's supposed to come. I'm not gonna go put myself in further debt trying to appear to have more than what I really have.
Do you think also that was a part of the growth of getting to the point where you can say it'll come when it's supposed to come?
Yeah.
At
Of
one point,
course.
it's like,
That's what my
everybody's
advice
telling
just
me this.
was.
I know that's my point of just highlighting that.
I
is
didn't
that
always think that way. So yeah, you're right.
that's what I'm
You're right.
highlighting, is that even with that and that growth, that we were able to get to the point where it'll come when it's supposed to. That hasn't failed us yet. Like, God hasn't failed us yet in that aspect. Like, it'll come when it's supposed to. Just like just like when we did finally get our house. What did your mama say to us? What was her exact words? Don't worry,
It'll come.
it'll come. That's what she said.
It'll come.
And it came.
And that's why I'm like, that's what I'm saying. So it's, boom. Kids are growing. Now we're renting, and we already know these kids are finna outgrow this house. We're constantly spending money, renting, knowing that this money is just going to somebody else's pockets. And like I said, here we are.
But also, if you even look at that, as I'm looking at what rent and stuff is costing now compared to what we were doing, we were able to both save, as we both were in kind of careers at that point. Our kids were getting older. Everyone had what they needed. We were able, we had both cars. If there's something, we wanted or needed to do, of course, we always made the time for that. Like you always say, go to work. If there's something we want to do, we've earned that. But being in the situation where we were, even though we were renting at the time, the rent was enough for us to make sure everything's paid, but also save so we can prepare for things to come.
Yeah.
I don't think we would have been able to do that now. Like, as
No.
much as rent and stuff is
ain't
costing
even-
now, like
That's what I'm saying. That's why I
crazy.
said earlier, it's like you got families that have two incomes and you're still barely able to stay afloat. Like, that's crazy to me. And I ain't saying like just two basic entry level, whatever,
Right.
like people that have tenure, like people that are well off. Like 10 years ago, if somebody said, oh, I make $60,000 or $70,000 a year, coming from Kentucky, Clinton especially,
Right.
like I get it. Major cities, that's nothing.
Right.
That's poverty in some areas. Hell, you couldn't even live in New York or California and nowhere making that type of money. I get that. But we're talking about Kentucky. Like, if somebody said I make $70,000 a year, oh man, y'all are well off.
Right.
Where now both people are making 60 or 70 and it's just enough. And it's like, that's crazy to me. And it's like, that's the part that I'm appreciative of. And that's why I'm saying, like, reflecting back on 10 years of trial and tribulation is like, we done been through a lot. This ain't your typical newlywed story. Like, everything just happened. You couldn't plan for it. You was not prepared for it. We just had to wing it. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I'm wanting to share this with people.
But we had to stick together, because if we, much as, some days it was hard and some days it's like, nope, like, I'm gonna stay over here. But I really feel like if I couldn't have, like, there's no way that some of the things that we've gone through, or that couples go through, that if you're not literally holding each other down and
Yeah.
and trusting, okay, I trust him, like, he's gonna take care of this, or I trust her that she's going to make sure that this is done right, that those things would have just happened when they meant to happen.
Right. No, I get it. So we 50 minutes in. Like I said, that's just backstory for us. Like, this is one of the things where I'm comfortable now disclosing a little bit to let people understand that life ain't always been picture perfect. My marriages has seen, my marriage has. I didn't mean to say marriage is plural. My bad, player. My bad. I'm tired, man.
It's an interesting episode if you.
It's 12:30. It's midnight. It's after midnight. I'm sorry. I'm a little tired, tongue tied.
Okay.
Marriage hasn't been picture perfect. Like, I don't care what it looks like on social media. People see the messages and people see the pictures and, oh, y'all have the perfect family. Y'all have the this and that. That's not me trying to pretend that I have the perfect family or the perfect marriage. That's just me sharing. And I tell people all the time, when my mother was alive, we're 5 hours away. She doesn't get to see her grandkids when she wanted to see them, like most normal people. I ain't gonna say most normal people, because now you have people that are like, leave the nest and do whatever. But I'm saying that for me growing up, I saw my grandmother and grandfather every single day.
Right. We just talked about that with me.
But that's what I'm saying is, like, I had access to my grandparents every day. I could walk to Granny's house. I could walk to grandmama's house. I saw them every day. My mother only saw my kids if I went to go pick her up and brought her back up here, or we went home to visit. So social media was that outlet.
Right.
Every milestone, every whatever the kids was doing, I was sharing it so that she could see it. That's why I'm always making little videos around the house and things like that, so my mother could see it. I'm sharing it so my family can see it. It wasn't because I'm trying to brag or boast or anything like that. I'm trying to let my mother feel as close as possible as she could to what's going on in our lives. It just so happens that, it grew into King Petty personality. You know what I'm saying? Like, it became a persona in a sense to where people have messaged like, man, I really enjoy your posts. I really look, and it all snowballed into here we are now on a podcast. And it's like, it ain't to invite people into our home, show everybody everything that we got or nothing like that. I'm not here to brag, because at the end of the day,
very humble.
A lot of this stuff, I went through hell and back to get it. I don't get caught up in the materialistic things or whatever. I just happen to like sneakers. I like basketball. So it's a lot of material things in here. But guess what? I'll get rid of all this shit any day if I knew that my family needed something. So it's like, that's the reason for the social media posts. That's the reason why, we're constantly sharing pictures of the kids and what they're doing. But I'm saying, for us, it's like we're shedding light into some of the behind the scenes, some of the things that we had to deal with, some of the obstacles. And you fast forward, it's been 10 years. And now you're on the other side of it. Life still ain't picture perfect yet. We ain't got to where I can put my feet up and be comfortable all the way.
There's still goals to be met.
Mm-hmm. So real quick, before we get off of here,
but let's reiterate also that 10 years, there's been a lot of good stuff too.
That's what I'm getting ready to say, lady.
There's been a lot of.
That's what I'm getting ready to say.
Okay, continue.
What's one or some, like, what are some of the major takeaways of 10 years of marriage.
That's
Throw Lexington
great
out. Like
question.
10 years, boom.
What are the? Say it one more time. What are?
Name one,
Uh-huh.
or if you have multiple, like what's something that you can be like, if you had to share with the rest of the world, what's something that is like, you know what, this is
something to look
something
forward to. Is that what you're saying?
in a sense, yeah, like what is something that you're proud of in 10 years of marriage? Like, what is it?
I mean, just based off this conversation, like that is something like the growth, like to see where we were and to see where we are and what are the family that we've created. We've done that. Like that is something that is I'm most proud of. And like I said, and this is only at this point, I'm sure there'll be other memories, but in terms of what is something that's going to keep me pushing in the marriage is that I want to see where we're going to end up. I want to see how we grow. I want to see what else we can accomplish together. Like that's
I'm trying to own some shit.
I mean,
I'm trying
we've
to
talked about that.
do how our previous landlord done us. I want to be able to go
But I'm
collect
saying
some
even
rent.
all of those things, like why would I not want to be a part of that? Like I know where we were. I know what we were doing. Like I want to see. I've said that about like my job and where I at one point, contemplated is it time for me to look somewhere else? Should I? But I saw things changing that were positive, things getting good, and I was like, I have been here through the tough time. I want to see where this is going. Like that is something with me, like
Yeah.
with us. Like I want to see where this is going. I want to continue to create all the memories and fill up the box that like I want to keep adding to that. I want to be able to when we get to the next 10 years. We already talked about that 10 years. Our kids will hopefully be college. They'll
Out
be,
of the house.
like I want to all right, what we doing now? Like what's the goals now? We did what we were supposed to do with them.
What did
We didn't even hit that point that in a marriage and when you start having kids, like parenting is something else that comes in the marriage. Parenting styles, parenting, like all of those things. What's important?
Then I guess
that's a whole nother conversation, though. But
it's a part 2 coming in. We might have to start doing this as a couples podcast or something.
One, you already know I don't even like being in front
No,
of the
you
camera.
sound pretty damn comfortable to me. So all you gotta do is pretend like the camera ain't on. You ain't looked at the camera. So guess what?
You've been talking. I've been looking at you.
That's the beauty in it. I ain't even looking at the camera. The camera's over there. I'm just looking at the feedback, the playback, or whatever.
But to answer your question, that is what I have looked forward to. That is what I enjoy. I enjoy watching how you have grown and you have changed. And, at one point I might have wanted to choke you in your neck. And,
That means you're unappreciative.
Don't do me. Don't.
I disagree.
Now, I remember that button.
All right, man. Don't get too comfortable over here. See, that's what marriage is too. They start trying to take half your stuff. Now you want to touch on my buttons and take half my podcast.
You pushing buttons, all right? 2 points for me. I don't get them often.
Yeah, all right. It's going on 1:00 in the morning. We gonna get off here. I'm getting tired. I'm going there.
Okay.
In 10 years of marriage, all jokes aside, I'm being real here, and hopefully, those that are listening or watching, this is what you've collected and gathered. In 10 years, trust. Like, that's something that's big for me because I know I ain't always been the perfect person, the easiest person to get along with. I have my ways at times or whatnot, but like I said, I look at other people's relationships and I hear some of the things that they bicker and beef about, and I'm saying to myself, I'm thankful that I don't have to go through that and that you trust me to be able to provide in the best way that I know how, without putting the extra stress and strain on why didn't you get me this? Why didn't you do that? I want this. I want it now. I want to go here. I want to go there. And you trust that we're going to get there. That has always been something that I've harped on. And like I said, I don't know if that comes from living in a household where my parents were not married. We couldn't do anything that didn't require them coming together to make it happen. Everything was somewhat split 50-50 down the middle in a sense, to where like it couldn't happen until you got your part. So growing up, seeing that, I've always told myself, I'm not going to put all this burden on myself because society says this is what a man is supposed to do. A man is supposed to provide. A man is supposed to protect. A man is supposed to do all of these things. And that is very much true. But at what cost? And I've always been a firm believer that if your significant other is willing to sit back and watch you struggle to provide without trying to lend a helping hand, then that ain't a very good significant other. Why watch somebody struggle to get everything so that he or she can provide? You're going to watch them go through all that pain and suffering and struggle, lack of sleep, lack of peace, lack of all of these things, just so that you can sit back and say, ooh, my husband got me this 5-bedroom house. Ooh, my husband bought me this 3-carat diamond ring. Ooh, my husband did this and done that. Well, guess what? Your husband ain't even at home to spend time with you because he's constantly sweating and slaving to pay for it all. And then fast forward, the wife steps out. You wasn't at home. I was lonely. I was this, I was that. And it's like, I'm not making this up. I see this. It happens. Not only in celebrities, but everyday life. It's like, you're going to watch me get up and do everything that I possibly can to provide, but then be selfish enough to A, not help me, but then B, step out and use me doing what I'm supposed to do to provide as the reason for why you've done it. I've always told myself, and I've always said that even once we agreed to get married, that's something that I ain't gonna never be a participant in. And if you're not willing to meet me with my terms, then we can't be married. We can build it together and enjoy the fruits of our labor once we get it all. But I'd be damned if I'm gonna sit here and stress and struggle trying to get it and not even have time to enjoy it because now I got to do all these things to maintain it. So the trust in knowing that we didn't have ourselves in order, we didn't have our stuff in order. It may have taken longer than we expected, but to know that if you look at the checklist, there ain't a milestone that you can't check off. You can't go down that box of move to a new city, find a new job, healthy babies, new car, baby's got a roof, baby's got food, baby's got everything that they need. We sending them to school. They going to school with clothes, shoes on their back, food in their mouths. They ain't never went to bed hungry. Boom. Car's paid off. The new car that we got is now paid off. Boom. We get a new house. Boom. We got another new car. And it's like, you're just going down this list. And when you go back and you reflect on it, it's like,
You met those goals.
everything that
Set
we
goals
said that we
together.
wanted, we've touched it. It may not be according to everybody else's timeline, but we've touched it. And you didn't give me any headache or strife or put extra pressure in a sense of urgency of I want it now. You got to do this now. You got to do that. You allow things to happen in the order that they were supposed to happen. And that's something that I am appreciative of, and I can reflect back 10 years later and understand that we really have come a long way, both as individuals and as a couple, husband, wife, parents, the whole 9 yards.
Right. Kudos to us.
Kudos to us.
Going 10 more?
If I hit this parlay this weekend,
don't even.
if I hit
don't
this
mess
parlay
up.
this weekend, I give you 10 more.
It's been fun watching you experience new things too, like stuff that
Oh
you
man.
like that. If everyone knows, and he knows that I'm all about doing something, and just to see expression on our kid's face the first time we go here, do this, or even with him, and seeing
Never been
how
on a
he's gonna
plane.
how Lord. And I was gonna leave you if you weren't gonna get a plane. Bye, dude. See ya.
You a hater.
Thanks for the flight. Thanks for the
Whatever.
vacation, but I'm out. But like I said, there's a lot more positive than there has been negative in the 10 years. And I think going back to what you just said is, I feel like before people make that decision to be married, I think they need to have that discussion on what is your want and need in this marriage.
Know
What
who
is
you
it?
marrying.
Know exactly.
Shit.
Knowing who you're marrying, knowing what is it they want or they need out of a marriage, and what are those goals. But
The red flags
those
are there.
conversations,
Don't
yeah,
ignore them. That's
that
my
too.
advice. The flags are there. Like I said before, I ain't mean to cut you off. I did it again. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's okay.
Whatever. Don't go
Talk
ahead.
about this when the mic's off. No, I'm joking.
Don't go ahead then.
But,
No, now you want to go. Go ahead, man.
No, I mean, I wasn't saying anything else. I was just saying, is like you said, having those conversations and knowing what's important, knowing who your partner's gonna be, knowing what they like, what is it you need out of this marriage, what is it that you want, and just keep setting goals, like this is where we want to get to. Then like you said, you know the person you're gonna marry. There's a red flag there. Sometimes you need to listen to it.
You better know who you marrying.
It's another whole conversation. That
So
can
I said
go,
after
could be
this we
about
gone,
3
but I'm
different
trying to help
podcast
people.
episodes.
Trying to help people. Like I said,
I am too, but I also want to let people know that marriages are positive. Marriages are something that I'm proud to be like, we've been married for 10 years and we're not old. I'm not old. See how I corrected that? I said, I'm not
You
old.
got
So
more
for
gray
us
hairs
to
than I
be,
got.
do not start. Because if you
Saying.
zoom that camera in just a little bit,
Go ahead.
go
ahead.
baby.
Go ahead.
But for us to be as young as we are, and we have made it 10 years already, like that is
You
something to
stuck
be
now.
proud.
Shit.
I've already told you stuck, so
You stuck now. But all jokes aside, like you see people post on social media and it's like, what are some tips? What are some, what is some advice that you would have for newlyweds or couples that are contemplating marriage and things like that? And the number one answer in most cases is communication, communication, communication. Me being a communications major, knowing that I just said I don't like talking to people. So it's almost like a walking contradiction or whatever. But I'm not going to say that I don't enjoy communication or communicating. I'm going to say that, no, just listen to
I'm
me.
listening.
Like, I enjoy laughter. I enjoy sarcasm. I enjoy
You
things
do.
like that. I don't enjoy confrontation.
Right.
So when I think of communication in relationships, I'm saying that it's key, in my opinion, in terms of listening, understanding, And the biggest part of communication to me is the ability to comprehend what the other person is saying. Like, I'm real big on, you can hear somebody, but are you listening to what they're saying? Everything is not an argument.
I feel
Everything, hold on, please. Hold
Go
on.
ahead.
Let me get my thoughts off. Communication, everything is not an argument. Everything is not meant to respectfully disagree. It's one of those things where it's like you have to be able to sit down, listen, understand. If it's something that you don't understand, ask for clarification before you jump off the deep end, because that can lead to a whole nother situation. And before you know it, you're arguing, you're saying hurtful things, you're saying things that you may not necessarily mean, and it's all built off a simple misunderstanding. So when you hear people say, oh, communication is key, yes, that is a true statement. But I feel like comprehension is just as important
It's a component of communication.
as communication. And I mentioned me being a communications major because there's a multitude of ways to communicate.
Verbal, nonverbal.
And I'm real big on reading facial expressions. I'm real big on picking up
Sometimes
clues.
too much.
But I'm just saying, like, you can read people's body language and know whether or not they're happy or sad. That's why, I enjoy sports, because when I'm watching games, you can read people's body language. You can see if they're enjoying being on the court. You can see if they're happy on the field. The other week, not to get off topic, the other week when AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts kind of had their beef or whatever, that was the night that they kept running the ball. As a wide receiver, you're not getting anything thrown at you. You're not getting nothing, like no attention, no targets, no nothing. So AJ Brown is pissed off that the ball is not coming his way. You saw it in his body language. You saw in how he was half-ass blocking. He wasn't doing his assignment because he was no longer happy. Boom. 2 weeks later, AJ Brown is getting targets. AJ Brown is getting the ball. And it came from simple communication. People thought they were arguing, but guess what? Hey, bro, like, come on, man. We all on this team together. I understand the run game is what's working, but hey, bro, I got hands. Throw it to me.
I'll say that you're right. Like, I don't disagree with what you're saying at all. But I feel like that's something that it's not just worked on, fix, and boom. I feel like that's something that you continue to work on, and that's continuous throughout your marriage. Because we just had a conversation about this not that long ago. Like, that's something I know that I am consciously trying to be better at, is listening to comprehend instead of listening to respond. But I think that is something that you work on over time, especially as you're getting to know. We've been together 17 years, a bit, 17 years, and we still learn new stuff. Or as we are changing, we're also learning that, okay, that's not her anymore. That's not him anymore. He's kind of like this. So I need to, take that into account also. But I think it's something that you just have to keep working at. You can't expect that it's going to be perfect. You cannot expect that it is going to be fixed immediately, but you have to accept that we're working on it and that we want it to grow to get better. Now, if it's getting worse, then okay, conversations need to be had. But if it's something that you can both see that, okay, we're mindful of this, we might still have our issues here and there, but it's still going, that trend line is kind of going this way to where it's improving, not going the other way. But it's something that is just continued to be worked on, and knowing like, hey, this is important to us. And that if we want this to keep going, we need to make sure that this is going in the right direction. But definitely agree with that. Those different components of communication, and back to accepting that those different areas. Because like I said, I'm guilty. Even then 10 years in, we still have arguments here and there. And you gonna get my face because many times you say it shows all over your face. It shows. I know.
Bruh.
Okay, like I said, there are times where there may be some sarcasm at the wrong time, and I'll fix that afterwards. Forget this. I know I'm being sarcastic, and this is probably gonna make it worse. But all right, yeah. Eventually, I gotta say, yes, I did that. My bad.
All right.
But
it's the part where I hit the wrap it up button.
So you gonna cut me off?
Yes,
as I'm
I
talking?
am. It's 1 o'clock in the morning.
Okay. All right.
It's 1 o'clock
Okay.
in the morning.
Okay.
All
Yeah,
right.
that's what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
Okay. We better switch this around and turn it into something real positive real quick.
Exactly. My last tip before I get off
You
here.
didn't had enough tip, but you gonna cut me off, but you gonna give another tip? That's not what we're gonna do.
No. All jokes aside.
How many times you gonna say all jokes aside?
Look.
Okay, go ahead.
We was doing good.
Keep
All right.
going. If you know us, you know that's
my last
your daughter
tip.
just text me.
Why is Aubrey still up at 1 o'clock
That's
in the
why.
damn morning?
She texted me like 12:10, and I said, "Girl, go to bed. Good night."
See?
She asked about basketball practice.
You better not be asking about no damn basketball
She did.
practice.
She was like,
Tell her we going to the wide.
I told her what time practice is, and she was like, "Starting when?" Girl, it's 12.
That's why they want to stay over at your mama's house because they ain't got no bedtime. They over partying. I bet if we go over right now, Paige, all of them still up.
Paige is
Anyways,
asleep.
anyways, for real, we an hour and 16 minutes in. My last thing in terms of marriage and what I would suggest to other married couples, or again, people that are in long-term relationships, is being able to understand finances. Financial problems are also a big deal breaker when it comes to marriages and divorce and things like that. And I'm saying that you have to be willing to build together, in my opinion. We live in a society right now where social media is giving off this false illusion that people are supposed to have all these things before they can even approach you. If you're not worth X amount, then you're not even boyfriend material. You're not even husband material. What?
This is a whole nother podcast again.
No, it ain't. Just let me get my thoughts off. I'm saying that at the end of the day, you have to know who you're dealing with, who you are involved with. And that's as simple as the first date. You can learn that on the first date. Hey, let's go to the movies. You get the tickets, I get the popcorn. Whoa. You can disagree with it all you want to. I'm saying to you, that's the first indication of who you're dealing with. Somebody that's willing to say, hey, let's just go have a good time. I don't expect you to take me out and you have to do everything. Is that Cinderella picture perfect scenario that a woman is willing to say, hey, I'm willing to go half on the first date? It may not happen often. But if it does happen, guess what? You should know that you are possibly dealing with a strong candidate of somebody that you could foresee yourself with later down the road because they're willing to help carry that load.
I get that.
I'm speaking from a man's perspective.
Yeah, because one, our first, actually doing something, you pay for it, but I guess you're just talking about having that, I don't expect him. Like, if it was a thing that, I feel like it was maybe just a bad example, but
it ain't a bad example when me and you have shared that.
But I'm saying,
even to this day.
But I get that you're saying is that in a marriage, if finances is important. Yes, communication and listening is important. Like that in terms of a marriage, yes, are some things that need to be discussed and that the understanding needs to be there on what the finances look like. Absolutely agree. And then you, not saying that you went on a tangent, but in terms of like the first date being an indicator, okay, I can see that a first date and those first impressions, excuse me, are you can get a lot of information from it, but I think it was just a bad example.
Rule number 1, y'all. We just said communicating, listening, and comprehension. I said marriages, long-term relationships. You should understand finances. You should understand who you're dealing with and be able to build things together. I simply said you should know based off of people's intentions, based off of early interactions. I gave an example of situations that will come up and you can be like, you know what? I'm dealing with someone who's willing to say, hey, you do this, I do that. That later in life leads to, guess what? You take care of this for the home, I'll take care of that for the home. It's not putting the burden on one particular person. I'm simply highlighting signs that you can pick up.
Not saying that on the first date, then people should say this. I get that, but and I also get that like, hey, you did the popcorn, like here, or you did the movies, I'll get us popcorn. Like I get what you're saying is that I'm like, oh dang, she was able or willing to do this, and it's our first date. That's a telltale sign that I might be dealing with a pretty good candidate here. I get what you're saying, but I think just the example.
I was talking about social media and outside influences saying that a man is supposed to have all of these things to determine whether or not he's marriage material, he's worthy. And I'm saying to you that is incorrect. I'm saying that if you're dealing with somebody, then he or she should be willing to help take some of that burden off.
We just talked about that about 20
So guess
minutes
what,
ago.
y'all? Here we go. We just led to another 6 minutes when I'm in my closing talking.
There was no closing because okay.
I'm closing out the podcast.
Close it out.
So you just said this could be another episode. So we done started another episode.
You did. That's why I was saying that.
Welcome to marriage, people.
That wasn't a closing. You starting a whole different conversation, and I was supposed to just listen, but I was responding to what you were saying. Literally was not a closing. It was you were continuing on the conversation.
No, I was closing and you interrupted it. Welcome to marriage, y'all. Here's the both. So you got the sweet us, and then here we go.
Okay.
Anyways, finances, and I'm gonna leave it alone. Like I'm saying that these are important things in marriage. We're reflecting on marriage. We're reflecting on long-term relationships. And what I feel, in my opinion, helps sustain those relationships and those bonds. And I'm saying that a lot of people end up in divorce because of financial situations and people thinking that, oh, this person had this amount of money and this person should be doing this. And since it don't work that way, I no longer want this person. And I'm saying that you should be able to pick up on those things early. Before you even get to the part where we're at 10 years later. The signs should be there. If you choose to ignore them, then these are some of the things that I suggest you all be able to do together. Right. Hey, I'm going to do this. Help me do that. Some people may have already surpassed those steps. I'm not saying this is what you should be looking for on a first date. You may have already went beyond that point, but where you are currently in your relationship, what I'm saying to you may help from this day moving forward. Be willing to help take the load off of each other. Be willing to help share some of that burden so that, guess what? Soon as we mark this off the checklist, now both of us have freed up income to where we can go take those trips. We can go buy the things that it is that you put on me to buy you before we done all of these things. You're telling me you need a new this, you need a new that. Well, I haven't finished paying off the old stuff that you wanted. guess what? If we go on and pay this off together, now we both can go get new this, new that, and live happily ever after. That's all I'm simply saying. Like, be able to communicate, comprehend, understand, be willing to discuss and work out whatever financial situations are best for you and your household. Don't let the outside world influence how you run your house. So that is in closing. We'll leave it there. Don't let how other people run their house influence how you run yours. You conduct your house the way it works best for you and your family. Is that better?
Sounds a lot better to me.
In closing, 10 years. Thank you. I appreciate everything that you've done for me, done for our children. Love you.
Love you too.
We'll do another one in 10 years. Okay?
It's about as often than y'all gonna see me out here.
You might look. We might have to start doing this together now. It might be I respectfully disagree husband and wife episodes because you try to get a little feisty with me here. There.
You've been dealing with me for 10 years married, so you already know.
Anyways, man, y'all hit the like, share, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. The weather's changing. It's supposed to be cool this weekend. Fresh hoodies is gonna be on deck. Doing pre-orders. Y'all holler at me. Like I said, I'm gonna do the little video showing you what all is available. Hopefully I get that done by the end of the weekend. But got any questions? Let us know in the comments, man. We'll respond back to you.
I'm curious what you guys think.
Yeah, give us some tips. It might be some things out there that we need for marriage and things and how other people's relationships and stuff go. So y'all let us know. All right? Peace.
Ass toasted, no competition. Amisha coasting. I feel so high, I feel so live. My body's intertwined. Amisha coasting. I feel so live, and I know why. That I can't deny. Amisha coasting. Goody, fine wine, fools, malt liquor. Wish me I'm high class.